Commission meeting to order. We'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Item 2, approval of the minutes of December 5th. Any comments? The motion?
I would motion to approve the minutes from December 5th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 3, communications. Still none, I assume, Tim and Dan? Okay. Item 4, unfinished business, none. Item 5, new business. A, Kenneth and Hildegard Becker, W298 N408 Kingsway. Rate consideration and possible action on a request to approve a certified survey map to combine 2 adjacent lots into one parcel. Location at W298 N408 Kingsway. Tax key numbers DELT 823-013 and DELT 0823-998-009. Tim?
All right, up on the screen, I do show the combined lot. If you see right through the pool, there's a line going north-south. That's where the existing property line is right now. The Beckers own both properties. I did have some technical comments and provided those to the surveyor, and I did receive a survey back from the surveyor and reviewed those comments, and now they are in conformance with the code. Basically, the purpose for this is obviously to address the nonconformity of the pool as well as the potential for an accessory building associated with the pool for the future, and they needed to combine it in order to allow that accessory building on one lot. So I am recommending the approval of the certified survey map prepared by Paul Hilmer of Hilmer and Associates, dated November 23rd, 2023. They still have to go to the city of Delafield for extraterritorial plat approval. They do not have to go to the county. It's not in county jurisdiction. And so our approval in the cities is all we need. So recommending approval to the town board.
Is it dated November of 23?
That's when he actually stamped it.
But he's made subsequent revisions to address your
And he
concerns.
didn't put a date on the revisions, so, but that's the current one that I have. Or you could say the current one received today's date, January 16th. Do you want to come up, please? Up to the podium. This is the applicant.
Okay.
You have to introduce yourself and.
Hildy Becker, owner of this lot. My only question is that it has the backyard neighbor's address on it, which when we owned all that land, that was the address, but then when we, for the last 23 years, have been paying taxes on it, it's been our address.
The address, where's the address? I mean, on what?
On the certified survey map?
On your minutes, 408, it said, versus 521.
Okay. So it's west 298, north
521.
521.
Okay, so the notice was,
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can fix that.
Okay, thank you.
It's correct on the certified survey map, right?
Just on the agenda, it's off.
It's just on the agenda and on
The agenda, it's off.
Well, the certified survey map says it's prepared for W298 and 408 Kingsway.
I'll get that addressed then with the surveyor.
Okay.
Yeah, the application.
Yeah.
So the CSM received today with one further change to correct the address.
Correct.
Motion?
Motion to recommend to the town board approval of the CSM dated today's date, January 16th, 2024, with the correction of the address. This will be a recommendation to the town board. Also, we'll need extraterritorial plat review from the city of Delafield. I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 5B, Amy Thomas et al., reconsideration and possible action on a zoning amendment from A1 Agricultural District to PDD Number 1, Land Development District Number 1 on the Thomas family properties located north of Gulf Road, west of Helmhurst Road, south of Lake Country Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail, and the High Ridge East Addition Number 1 subdivision, and east of Glen Cove Road that are in the town of Delphille's zoning jurisdiction. Tim?
All right, the current zoning on the property is A1 and WF1 as shown up on the map that I have on the screen. The portion that's in aqua is, and noted in red as WF1, is our wetland floodplain -1 zoning district. It is basically defined by the actual delineation of the wetland, and that WF1 will remain. The proposal is to change the A1 portions of the land outside of the county jurisdiction, which is the purple line that you see on the screen, from A1 to the PDD Number 1 district, the Planned Development District Number 1. The requesting zoning amendment is in conformance with the land use plan. The PDD Number 1 district or ordinance requires that the general development plan be prepared, reviewed, and approved, either approved, conditionally approved, or denied as part of the rezoning action. And then the plans that are required as part of this include the general development plan, the open space and natural resources protection plan, traffic impact analysis, road access plan, sanitary sewer plan, water study, preliminary stormwater plan, bike and pedestrian plan, and the active recreation plan. Those are what's required in the ordinance that they need to submit for our review. I also took an opportunity to review the maps and the development plans as it relates to the actual code ordinances, the ones that are in the PDD district. And so the use, they do meet the requirements for use regulations, what it can be used for, the density, the building location, the area regulations, and the open space for the entire development. There will be other code requirements that will be reviewed when the structures come in for a building permit, such as height, offsets, on the lot, the open space on the lot, things like that. So to assist the Plan Commission in making a decision, I have outlined in my staff report what I would call findings based on the information that was submitted, and I will go through those at this time and then make a recommendation. So the general development plan was submitted. It's considered map 1. As part of that, I do have maps, but they're at the end of my PowerPoint. So if we have to refer back to them, please just let me know. I can put them up as we need to. The general development plan has property boundaries on it, lot lines, streets, open spaces. It has all the information that gives just an idea of kind of an overall development plan for that. The proposal is for 212 units. That's 211 new units and one existing unit that is currently on Thomas Road that will be retained, and then there will be a private driveway off of Elmhurst to that particular property. The code allows, the PDD code allows 230 units. The open space and natural resource protection plan that was submitted, there is no wetlands or environmental corridor that will be disturbed. They are all shown to be preserved. There will be some tree lines that will be retained, but there will be some tree lines that will be removed, but they have a landscape plan that was in the packet that does show replacement of trees in those tree lines to kind of replace it, maybe in a little bit slightly different location, but generally to maintain that tree line. There's a various stands of trees in Outlot 6, which is in the far southeast corner of the property, that will be preserved, and they're shown as being to be preserved. The open space for the site is 49%. When you take all the different uses and put them together, the required open space is 38.8%. The next plan that we received was the traffic impact analysis. There was 8 intersections evaluated for peak hour traffic. Level of service for under existing conditions for the intersections was A and B. The level of service there's a range from A to F that traffic engineers use. And under existing, there's most of them are A. There are a few movements that are what we call B, level of service B, and that has to do with delay on that. Under proposed conditions, the level of services are A and B as well. It doesn't get any worse. Now, the DOT in Waukesha County consider a level of service D as being, or D or better to be defined an acceptable peak hour operating conditions for traffic on that. So in order for the new intersections to meet the level of service, there will be improvements. There'll be turn lanes at both entrances off of Gulf Road, as well as a bypass lane that will have to be put in. Part of that requirement is by the county Department of Public Works. For any T intersections that have more than 2,500 vehicles per day, they do require the bypass and the turn lanes. And so there's about 4,400 vehicles per day on Gulf Road at this time. The next plan that was required was the road access plan. There are 4 access points into the subdivision. I'll call it the main subdivision. 2 off of Gulf Road, as we just discussed. 1 off of Elmhurst Drive. 1 off of Glen Cove Road. Those ones off of Elmhurst and Glen Cove, they line up with existing roads that are in adjacent subdivisions. So we end up with basically a 4-way intersection there, a more common intersection. We don't want offset intersections, and they're not providing those. There are no, and we talked about this throughout this, is we don't want any direct access between those two for cut-throughs, shall we say, shortcuts. There's really no direct east-west access on one particular road. You're going to have to make some turns. It's a curvilinear road. There's stop signs, turns that have to be made. So it's not a direct straight route between the two. There is a separate access to the 8 lots off of Crooked Creek Road. A sanitary sewer plan was provided. The map itself shows where the sanitary sewer is located and where it connects in concept to the existing sanitary sewer system. It doesn't provide detail as to slopes and design plans, but it gives you the concept of where sanitary sewer would be located. Based on the letter that we received in May from LPSD, they confirmed that the design capacity was 7 units per developable acre. There's approximately 110 developable acres on this site, which means there's capacity for 770 persons. The projected population, based on 212 units at 2.75 persons per unit, is 583 persons. So there's adequate capacity for the sanitary sewer. LPSD has confirmed that there is sufficient capacity in the actual pipes, as well as capacity at the Fox River Pollution Control Center in Brookfield. That's basically the treatment plant where all this flows to. It flows through the town, the city of Pewaukee, the village of Pewaukee, and then down to Brookfield. So, and gets treated and goes into the Fox River. As we all know, there was a water study that was performed on this. The code requires that Sewer PAC, DNR, and LPSD be consulted with regard to the water table impacts. The study had to demonstrate that a private water supply will adequately serve the project and not adversely impact private wells or other natural resources. There was a study that was completed by the developer. It was reviewed by Sewer PAC, Waukesha County, and LPSD. It went back and forth between Sewer PAC, the county, and the developer, because there were a number of questions that had to be addressed and issues that we needed more information on. So the findings, the summary that we did receive a summary since the last meeting, and so the findings included in that summary included that The methodology used to calculate the drawdown is the most widely used and accepted solution for calculating drawdown. The average drawdown in the proposed development, assuming infiltration and groundwater, which that was part of the discussion last time about, we're going to try to infiltrate as much as, they're going to try to infiltrate as much as they can to recharge that groundwater. So the drawdown, assuming infiltration and groundwater, is estimated to be 4 to 5 feet. The current cumulative drawdown for developments to the east and west, separately, independently reviewed, there is about 7 to 14 feet. The maximum drawdown is less than the natural groundwater fluctuation of 6 feet, and that the flows from the groundwater to Pewaukee Lake will be maintained. And that's from the basis, that's part of the information that was provided in the study. The preliminary stormwater plan was provided to Waukesha County, and they concluded that the development will be able to meet the ordinance requirements. There's a lot of detail that still needs to be worked out. They did provide quite a bit of detail, but there's a lot more that has to be done when we get into the detailed plan review portion of it. And based on the information that was supplied, the county is comfortable that this is going to meet their ordinance. Infiltration into the ground is going to be 94% of the pre-development flow. The county requirement is 90%. In regards to the bike and pedestrian plan, the developer is incorporating about 1.9 miles of trails and path. The paved path will extend from Glen Cove Road through the development to the Lake Country Trail. The natural walking paths basically will come out of some of the right-of-ways through open spaces and outlots, and then eventually get into the environmental corridor, and those paths in the environmental corridor will not be paved. The bike path would be a paved one. But through the environmental corridor, it's going to be more of a natural path. The details of what that material might be, it might be, just wood chips or something like that, has not been determined yet. That'll be done during the specific development plan. And finally, the active recreation plan, they are providing a 1 acre public pocket park. It's going to be along Gulf Road at the westerly entrance to the development. The amenities are going to be will include like a pickleball court, garden, picnic areas, and benches. So my recommendation is that the petition for the zoning amendment from A1 to PDD number 1 and the general development plan be forwarded to the town board with a recommendation to approve based on the following. The request is in compliance with the town land use plan. The application is complete and all information required by section 1704-5R4B has been submitted. That's the list of all the items that I went through. Findings indicate that each of the GDP required submittal materials identified in the ordinance has been adequately addressed. And then the general development plan layout has been reviewed in light of the regulations within each subsection of 1704-5R. Those are the more detailed ones about open space on each lot and things like that, and have been found to be in compliance with the ordinance, subject to a more detailed review when that subdivision comes in for the specific development plan, when the details come in. And that's what we normally do under our town processes. So the development of the subject property shall be, and we do this all the time, is that we have plans. Now we want to make sure that any motion that's made, if it goes forward, that the development of the property has to be in substantial conformance with the plans that are submitted. So could be some minor details that get worked out and it get tweaked, but generally speaking, it's got to be in what I would call substantial conformance with the maps and the studies identified in the general development plan. I do have a list of them here. It's basically the dates and the list of the map numbers, as well as the hydraulic assessment report and some of the responses that went back and forth. So that's what I have for now. Like I say, I do have the maps. So if you have any questions on any of this or the maps, I can bring those up.
Thank you, Tim. Just as a reminder, we'll be taking up the conditional use requirement from the county as a separate item under 5C, so this is just the rezone of the land that's outside the county jurisdiction. We've got Tim's report, the developer's here with the various experts. I guess does anyone have any questions for Tim or his presentation? Any other comments? Want to we'll start at the end and work our way across?
Start over here last time too.
I can start at this end if you'd like.
I had a chance to take a look at the Collier report, and I saw the correspondence that went back earlier today with Thomas, probably mispronounce his name, but Thomas Coip from the
Yep.
So, and this is probably a little bit of an unfair question, but did Collier get a chance to take a look at everything that has been proposed as well from GZA?
Repeat that question, please.
As Collier, right, so have they had a chance to review the most recent information from GZA? Where we've kind of, some of the materials that were provided today, are they all new? They're a summary? Does the sewer district need to take a second look at them?
I'm not aware that so the Collier report was requested and prepared by LPSD separately, was not a request of the town. Excuse me. It was not a request of the town. They just provided that to us. They created this own study and just provided it to, actually to us in the county for informational purposes. I mean, recently, since the last meeting, I don't think any new information was sent back to those folks. I mean,
Collier should have had everything that we've had in front of us when they developed this report. Maybe an unfair question.
I don't think they had any of it, to be honest with you. That's kind of an
Not really a party to this transaction.
That's kind of an independent report that
Yeah.
LPSD did, had nothing.
And I ask in weighing what's in here in the report, in the Collier report, versus what we've seen from GZA, right? So it came up in our last meeting, so I'm wondering how the basis of information that was used in the creation of this particular report. So if they had what they needed, or had at least the information that we're looking at with the GZA report.
Sure. Again, I'll reintroduce myself, Brian Lindgren with Newman Developments. And I can only comment on what I know in my conversations with Tom Kepp and LPSD. And I definitely want to reiterate that the Collier report was requested solely by LPSD for their information. They too have been aware that development's been proposed on this property and wanted to get some information for themselves. That was an initial look in their minds, just to give themselves some context to how this could be evaluated. They have not been a party to the ongoing conversations and are more localized experts that have been involved. Collier's, I don't know where they're out of, but I can say that there was specific reasons why we didn't agree with their report. There were some very obvious errors in it, so we're happy to have provided our own report, one that's been vetted by experts in the area, Sewer PAC, the county, the town, and want that one to be the one that is relied upon.
They raised a couple of questions in their report with regards to the wetlands and the draw-off, or potential draw-off of that with the stormwater, as well as the conversation about drilling deeper wells. In the plans that you provided to us, are those addressed in there, or was that something that you felt?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question on.
There were
Draw
concerns
off.
in the Collier report with regards to potential draining or impact to the wetlands, that with the existing topography of the land, that there may be some concern as far as how that runoff may be readjusted based on development. So not touching the wetlands that are shown in here, but at least within the Collier report, there was concern as to whether or not that runoff may have an impact to those wetlands.
Yes, so I guess what I can say is, because that Collier report was the first one kind of completed, some of the stuff that came out of there steered the conversation that continued on with sewer pack. So yes, and for terms of protecting groundwater sources to the natural wetlands that are here and some of the seeps and things like that, yes, I will say that was considered in the ongoing reports that we did. The ones
Is
that
it
were
shown in the stormwater or in the other maps that we've done here with, or you've created with how that runoff may be, how we may still keep the wetlands wet and address some of the other issues that Collier brought up with regards to some of that runoff?
Yeah, I think that's getting into deeper questions that those plans will be evolved if this goes to the next step. But the answer is yes. There's been a lot of looking at various forms of infiltration. So infiltration is one of the methods that gets that water into the ground so it can continue to feed and fuel those underground sources. The paths at which water flows are maintained, so we're not redirecting water away from existing wetlands. These are all kind of common practices of a stormwater management plan, one that will evolve and get reviewed by the county, but we've taken well beyond the preliminary steps to be able to answer that question affirmatively, that yes, I think that the preliminary information has been done, and we can say that we're doing everything within our means to preserve and protect existing wetlands.
And with the deeper wells then, that Collier addressed is in their report as well, has that been something that has already been considered from your development?
Yeah, when that was proposed, that was thrown out as one of the options, and we've taken the opportunity to respond to that question on multiple occasions from both an economic perspective and a feasibility perspective. But what it did was, without any detailed information or context, it drove us to take our plans and reports a step further, look at actual groundwater wells. And I think this is what drove some of the questions that came from Sewer Pack on what is the context and nature of the underlying shale layers and limestone layers and so on and so forth. And that's where, now that we've done the full steps of the report, using localized data, using localized well information, we can answer that it's not a hard line that's established in the ground. The upper layers are broken up in not using scientific terms, but have water mixed in throughout all of the layers instead of, forcing something to go deep and only deep.
So some of the details as far as with those wells, it kind of sounds like that's more of at a time of construction, and then for the stormwater and the retention of water in those wetlands, or for the other areas that may be impacted by existing flooding, that's all something that you're looking to add that additional detail in following the approval of the rezoning.
Yeah, the first steps to this GDP process are asking questions as to how do we manage stormwater on a high level? What is our answer to the water source question? And we feel like we've sufficiently answered those. There's no development that we've ever done that we come in for initial zoning proposal, and I can tell you exactly all of the details of a stormwater plan. That's a logical next step, but we've done a lot on this one, and we're confident in saying that we're protecting wetlands, we're protecting underground water sources.
Yeah, and we're not approving any of the plans other than the GDP, and the preliminary stormwater plan, as he indicated, and I think as Tim did, will go back to the county as part of the next steps following a rezone.
And we, as the town, the planning commission, will we see any of those detailed plans come back?
Specific development plan, yes.
Typically, the plan commission does not see specific design plans, like the stormwater management plan. They won't necessarily review that, or necessarily the road layout plans. Typically, we've never brought those to the plan commission. It's been staff approval at that point. I mean, once it gets through the plat process, then the plan commission and town board have allowed staff to follow up and make sure that it gets implemented properly.
The management and oversight of stormwater is done by the county in regards to the town. The town does not manage its own stormwater.
I can understand that it may be out of our jurisdiction, but it has been a concern that's been raised by the citizens within the town. So even though it may fall out of the jurisdiction, I think that having a confirmation of what may be expected certainly reassures some individuals.
I think our preliminary drafts of the plan, there's a lengthy preliminary stormwater report in there that's been provided, answer those questions.
And as far as my questions on whether or not we see the details, I think some of this has been a little bit out of the norm. So I wanted to ensure that we do see what comes back with some of these questions that have been asked of all of us, really.
Well, we have, the ordinance identifies what needs to be filed and approved at each step of the transaction, so we'll certainly follow that. You're good? Chairman? Any questions? Michaels?
I was tracking along as you went through your presentation, Tim. Am I correct that, yes, everything was submitted and as far as the ordinance requires, and yes, they met the requirement? We have all the documentation, we got a yes on everything, and then I was following along and filling in was the requirement met, and I got a yes on everything. Is that what the base of your recommendation is?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. That was my only question.
Okay.
I have one last question, though, since it's come up a couple times about the homeowners association. Where is that ultimately determined, or when, I should say?
Well, at the point of the time that there's a final plat, then there would be a homeowners association associated with that. It also comes up during when the stormwater plans get approved, there has to be, the outlots get, the stormwater basins, we have to have a maintenance agreement as part of that. And so there's a homeowners association that would have to sign off on that. Typically, the developer would sign the maintenance agreement, but then there's language in there that pushes it down to whoever's in charge of, the developer becomes like the homeowners association right away. And then that gets transferred down to the other parts of the homeowners association.
I think it's important to clarify that this isn't out of the ordinary, that all the other stormwater ponds in the town are turned over and there's a maintenance agreement. with the
Absolutely, yeah.
developer and homeowners association.
Yeah.
So this isn't being.
Correct. There are some very old ones. If we have, I mean, there's a lot of subdivisions that don't have any stormwater and any outlots. And so then there's really no stormwater management agreement for those. But all the new ones, I shouldn't say the more recent ones since into the late 90s, they all have maintenance agreements. I don't want to get into it too deep, but because we're a permitted community for stormwater through the DNR, then we have to report back and we have to show that we are making sure that we're meeting our stormwater quality and quantity requirements. And by doing that, when we have these maintenance agreements, then we can include those into the calculations for the entire town. So we want to have those maintenance agreements in place and available for us to go out and make sure that they're operating properly and that they get cleaned out. And we have a way to force the homeowners association to do that. And we have a program that we've been working on with the homeowners association for a number of subdivisions where we've inspected, we've identified some of the subdivisions are doing some of the maintenance themselves. Some of them hire it out, but we are tracking those, and we don't let that go.
Has there been any issues?
So far, let's just say, so far it's mostly just maintaining like the outlets you know, they get all full of debris or, you know, the weeds growing up or whatever, and you got to clean those out. We haven't gotten to the point where someone has to dredge out a pond yet, but it may be coming. So,
And I'll just add that these are deed restrictions. So when a homeowner's declarations are drafted, and at the time of final plat, the final plat is recorded first, deed restrictions are recorded second. Any other requirements, like a municipal stormwater management agreement, are recorded at that time as well, so that anybody who buys a lot initially or at any time in the future will have those documents recorded on their title, so they'll be able to view them.
Okay. Take a motion to, and I think the motion should follow Tim's staff recommendation and including the specific findings and conclusions.
Make a motion to recommend that the petition for zoning amendment in the general development plan be forwarded to the town board with a recommendation to approve based on the following. The request is in compliance with the town land use plan. The application is complete and all information required by section 17.04, R4.B have been submitted for review. Findings indicate that each of the GDP requirements submittal materials identified in the PDD ordinance have been adequately addressed. The proposed development meets the PDD statement of intent. The general development plan layout has been reviewed in light of the regulations within each subsection of 17.04, R, and have been found in compliance with the ordinance, subject to the detailed review when subdivision plats and construction plans are submitted for review and approval in accordance with normal town review processes. Development of the subject property shall be in substantial conformance with the maps and studies identified in the GDP as follows.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes. Item 5C, recommendation to Waukesha County on the request for rezoning lands from A1 to R3 residential and a planned unit development conditional use permit for lands that are under Waukesha County zoning jurisdiction, tax key numbers DELT 0809-995, DELT 0809-996, and DELT 0811-999. Tim, is there a separate presentation?
yeah, I can just do a quick one.
Yep,
And
okay.
Jason can join in as me.
Screen's off.
What's that?
Yeah, that's why I asked if there was a presentation. Your screen went
What
dead.
happened here? Technical difficulty.
There we go.
Close. Drag it right or left? Like you got a double screen going here or something?
No, I don't think so.
You got a double screen. Give me your mouse.
Oh, here, I gotta just do the slideshow here.
There you go.
There it is, okay.
There you go.
All right. There you go, okay. All right, so the current zoning on the county's portion of the property, which is that northern portion, is A1. They've got some C1 Conservancy, BC Environmental Corridor, and DSO is the Delafield Shoreland Overlay District. Process is to amend it from A1 to R3, and then they're also gonna have a plan unit development conditional use. But the C1, EC, and the DSO lands designated will not change, those will remain as they are. The plan unit development conditional use allows for a conservation design development, type of development on there. The request in zoning amendment is in conformance with the county's land use plan. And then, the R3 lot, does allow lots of 15,000 square feet in sewered areas. Because if you look at the code, it'll say 20,000, but, they always have a reduction for sanitary sewer for a lot of their, numerical items, so. So I'm recommending, subject to any other information from Jason, is recommending that, that the commission provide a positive recommendation to the county. Actually, this is gonna go to the town board, I believe. It'll go to the town, town board, but positive recommendation for approval of the rezoning request. Use on the basis that it is in compliance with the county land use plan. It is in compliance with the town's PDD district, and that the development will be in conformance with the maps and plans identified in our general development plan maps and things.
Jason, anything, nothing to add? Okay. Any questions or comments? Motion?
I will make a motion that the Plan Commission recommend to the town board to provide a positive recommendation to the county to rezone the lands from A1 to R3, and that the residential plan unit development be approved, subject to the entire development following the conditions and requirements of the town's plan development district ordinance based on the following. The request is in compliance with the county land use plan. The general development plan layout has been reviewed in light of the regulations within each subsection of section 17.04, paren 5, paren R, planned unit development district, and has been found in compliance with the ordinance. And development of the subject property will be in substantial conformance with the maps and studies identified in the general development plan as follows.
Second the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 6, discussion none. Item 7, next meeting is in March?
No February meeting?
Guess not? Apparently by,
February meeting.
excellent.
Meeting's March 5th.
Item 8,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.